Hello, and welcome to Battery Bargains, where we try to find the right electric vehicle to match the needs, budgets, and desires of real people. This is episode number 2. I'm Dominic Ioni, host of the YouTube channel Drive Electric with Dominic, and I'm joined today by my Batteries Included podcast colleagues, Tom Malogny, senior editor at Inside EVs and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge, and we also have Martin Lee from the EV News Daily podcast. So we put out a call during our regular Batteries Included podcast show, asking people to send us their personal electric vehicle buying conundrums, and we've received a number of responses. In this episode, we're going to try to tackle 2 of those. So if you're looking for your own battery bargain, please drop us a note at batteriesincludedpodcast.com with Find My EV in the subject line, and tell us about your situation, your needs, wants, and budget, and we'll see about featuring your case on an upcoming episode. All right, so let's kick this one off with our first case for today. So viewer Liv sent us this. Just saw this week's podcast, would love your suggestions. Currently drive a 2018 Nissan Leaf. It is my only car. Charge it in a 110 plug at rental house in Reno, Nevada. 2-mile commute, so it's fine for current situation. Super nervous about never being able to sell it because of CHAdeMO. So wondering if I should sell it sooner rather than later. One person, 2 50-pound dogs. Don't have to have a new car now, but plan to retire in 2 years and snowbird from Ohio to Texas. Drive across country, so range is important to me. Plus, after living with a Leaf and not being able to drive from Sacramento to Reno without overheating on the hill, range is a big deal. Feel like a Tesla Model Y is the answer, but just too expensive. Maybe an EX30? Don't know about real-world range. Appreciate any ideas. Thanks. Liz. All right, so there's our case. So a current Leaf owner, but CHAdeMO is not going to cut it for cross-country travel or snowbirding.
Well, one of the things she seemed to be concerned about was should she sell the Leaf sooner than later?
Right.
I wouldn't worry about that. No. CHAdeMO is going to be around for a long time. They're not going to retire those the CHAdeMO plugs for a very long time. Will they be harder and harder to find because new stations probably won't come online with them? Yeah, but I wouldn't rush out to sell my Leaf today. I mean, no. Nissan's still selling cars with CHAdeMO, brand new cars. So I wouldn't worry about that right now. I mean, if you planned on keeping it 15 years, I'd say it's going to get a little difficult, later on. But at least through this decade, you're not going to worry about being able to find a CHAdeMO plug, in my opinion. As far as the Leaf, you didn't mention if you wanted to buy a new car or a used car as the second car. You mentioned the Model Y is expensive, so I'm guessing you want a new car because there are some decent deals on used Model Ys out there now. The EX30 is a good idea. I actually have one on order, and I think that's going to be the wife's runaround. I saw it in person at the launch. I haven't driven it yet, but really, really nice package, decent price. So I would tell you to continue looking in that direction. But they're probably going to be hard to get. At least, if you don't have a reservation on one, I think it's going to be such a bargain that they're going to be hard to get for a couple of years. So that's something to consider also, and consider a used EV. It seems like that wasn't in your plans, but you can get some pretty good bargains that are a year or two old out there. That might save you a lot. You seem like you're interested in the Model Y, and that could be a good choice if you find one used. What do you think, Martin?
Yeah, so on CHAdeMO, don't worry about it. If a car hasn't lost its value now, it's not going to in 2 years' time. Nothing changes in 2 years. More brands are coming on with the North American charging standard, and that is going to be the reality for new cars in time. You're on a 2-year time frame. Don't worry about CHAdeMO. If you can live with it now, you can live with it in 2 years' time. And no one's not going to buy a Leaf in 2 years' time that would have bought one today thinking, like, right, I'll get a Leaf. And in 2 years' time, oh, my God, it's got CHAdeMO. Don't worry about it. Absolutely fine. The journey that you're going to do, you don't say how often you're going to do it. So it's chunky. Ohio to Texas is 1,300 miles, give or take. And so if you were doing that I don't know, every other week if you were seeing family. If you do it once every 6 months, if you travel south in, before winter or something, or, and then if you're doing that twice a year, again, it's going to be a big journey. If you're going to do it more often, you'll want something that is going to charge a little bit quicker and make your life easier. And then you mentioned your 2 dogs as well, 2 50-pound dogs, which is about 20 kg. So not huge dogs. So, maybe a collie or you're not getting into like your big Alsatian kind of dog. So, I wonder what's, in 2 years' time, something really nice now, like a Model Y. You just don't know what the depreciation is going to be in 2 years' time. So it is guessing a little bit because we keep seeing these lease deals on new Teslas, new Hyundais, new Kias, and there's so much happening on pricing at the moment, and a lot of those lease deals are going to end in 2 years' time. And they hit the market, they might go to auction houses, and they might end up on used car websites. And don't rule out it's hard to think in 2 years' time what the EV world's going to look like.
People who want to buy a Nissan Leaf in 2 years. And now it's the same people. It's going to have the same amount of demand, which is kind of low, but it's still like a great car for running around if you live in the city and live in town, don't need to travel. Because traveling, even with child MO working properly, I feel like it's not a great experience because it's slow. But it's a terrific car for people who just need to transport themselves around their local area. But in going to like the used Model Y, let me pull this up and see if that works. So there's used Model Ys. This is the Tesla inventory site. So you can find some with decent amounts of mileage, just 20,000 miles on this 2021, 36.5. You could probably find better deals on maybe like cars.com or cargurus.com. So that's a decent thing to look at there in the Model Y category. But I think you could probably do better depending on how low you really want to go or what your budget really looks like. Because in 2 years' time, I think besides the Volvo EX30, there'll be, I think, the Kia EV3, EV4 should be around, and those are in that very similar size category. And I believe price range as well. I think the EV3, they were talking about a $35,000 starting price. There's also the Chevrolet Equinox, and in that same sort of lower price category. I think there's a whole range of possibilities for you there.
Yeah. Well, a Hyundai Kona with the seats down would fit the dogs, but if you're doing it, twice a year and you're moving your life or you're towing a trailer or something, then that's going to be too small for you. But if you are just loading up the doggos and maybe some luggage alongside you, that, the Kona with 300 miles of range or 280, whatever, that's going to be a 4-stop journey, not the quickest, but you don't mind that because after that much driving, you want to get out and stretch your legs, and Duggo's having a wee break. So Kona could be good, might be a little small for you.
Don brought up a really good point about the Equinox. We don't really know a tremendous amount about that. It's not out yet. GM had promised a base level $30,000 version. They seem to be walking back some of their promises on their base level versions of other vehicles. So maybe we've lost the $30,000 Equinox also. I don't know, but it's going to be competitively priced, and that's a good size vehicle. That's going to be a really good option there, the Equinox.
Hey, what socket does that come with in the US?
CCS.
So if you're a Nissan fan, Liz, then stick with Nissan. And again, because used Arias now are low 30s, and again, it's really hard. But, stick your finger in the air and see which way the wind is blowing. In 2 years' time, that could be a $20,000 car, depending on depreciation. So, and that's going to be then, a 3-year-old car. And Aria is a really good size if you haven't tried one, if you like the Nissan brand.
I mentioned looking for Model Ys on other websites besides the Tesla website. And man, I am used. This is such a great deal. 20,000 miles, 2020 Model Y long range, 31,900. That's what I paid for my Model 3 like 6 months ago.
That's an early Y though. Careful of early car.
But it's still got warranty, right?
Liz is all about 2 years' time. So again,
right.
What's this car worth in 2 years? It's a $20,000 car. So
right. But if she wanted to make that change now, she could jump into that probably, and that's, I don't know. It is, maybe it might be worth waiting, over the next couple of years, because the car, new and used both, the prices have been super dynamic over this last couple of years with the pandemic, and then the supply chain interruptions and reestablishment. So I feel like it's difficult to predict the future now, even more than it was before. But in the past, pre-COVID, we were kind of comfortable with saying what's going to happen in a couple of years, but like with car prices or things like that, because it's kind of a steady state kind of a situation. But now, you never know what can happen.
How cheap is the Mustang Mach-E getting now? Let's have a look at that, because again, that's just so much car. You're gonna have such a big jump up from what you get to, and it's a reasonably sized. You got your two doggos in the back.
There's got to be something wrong with that first one.
Yeah, when you see a super low price like that,
going on with that.
Yeah, that's oh yeah, there is. Look at that shut line along that hood there. It's been banked. Yeah, you have to be very careful when you're buying it or looking, even shopping at used cars. Look and like dive in and scroll down and see what you can find out about the title. Make sure it's like a legit title and not like a salvage title. Okay, so let's move on to our second case then. So this comes to us from Dan. He starts out, "Hey BIP team." BIP, I guess, is our acronym for Batteries Included Podcast. I never realized that until I got this email for BIPs, apparently. So he starts out, he says some nice things about the podcast and especially Martin.
Well, someone's got to.
And then he moves into his actual case here. So we've long been a one-car family. Currently, that's an Ioniq 5. That's Hyundai Ioniq 5. But our kids are getting older and more active, and we're bumping up against the need for a second runabout. It doesn't need to do much, but here's what we'd need at a minimum. Under 12,000, under 8,000, 10,000 is even preferable. At least 30 miles of range in cold weather. We live in Wisconsin, USA. Enough room for 2 adults and 2 middle grade kids, 10 to 15 years old. Decent reliability. We don't want to sacrifice maintainability for upfront costs. Things it doesn't need to be would be nice. Anything that helps maintain range into winter. Heat pump, heated steering wheel, seats, lack of vampire drain, Android Auto / CarPlay, DC fast charging capabilities, all-wheel drive. We're planning to get a second set of wheels and snow tires to swap on for winter months. Thanks again for all you do for the EV community. Keep up the great content and conspiracy theories about Toyota. I think that's to you, Martin. Coming. Thanks, Dan.
Hey, right. We should just hook Dan up with Liz, because she's offloading a 2018 Leaf. And if it wasn't for the all-wheel drive, this is your car.
Actually...
that Martin's looking in the right direction, I think, when he talks Leaf.
Under 12K, that's not easy.
That's a tall ask. Maybe a Fiat 500e. I know the seats are a little bit tight in the back for 2 teenagers.
Oh, Fiat 500e. Yeah, so...
those sometimes go for cheap.
Right. So enough room for 2 adults.
Find an iMeave. Will they still go 30 miles in the winter?
Oh, that's tough. But a Chevy Spark would. A Chevy Spark or BMW i3.
No, you're not going to get an i3 for under 12 grand.
No?
I don't think so.
Okay.
They still hold their value pretty well because they're carbon fiber and everything, and their BMW badge. Take a look. Maybe I'm wrong. I wouldn't expect you to.
Nissan Leaf is 3,900, a lot of miles, but it does fit 4 people, and it will most likely go 30 miles in the winter.
Easily.
Yeah. Here's your iMeave. Oh, I love these little things. They're pretty awesome, but I would not suggest that if you want, because I don't know if now it can get 30 miles in the winter. It might be tricky. Right. So yeah, Nissan Leaf, that's right in there. And we can scroll down. There's Nissan Leafs for days in that price range. Yeah. So you can probably find a decent, low mileage example. The lower mileage, so the probably more likely it's going to have a battery with more range in it, right?
Any of the things that you asked that you would like, but you don't need, the all-wheel drive and the Apple CarPlay, like you're not going to get that stuff in this price range. There's your Spark.
Yep, 76.
iMeave.
iMeave 40 some. I think we're on the right track here.
Yeah. What is a 10-year-old or an 8 or 9-year-old BMW i3? Because Tom, I think I'm right in saying that there's no major mechanicals on those vehicles. They're so well built, because one of the things that he says, he wants decent reliability. So if you're going to go older, careful. Yeah. I think the i3 seems rock solid. I imagine if anything goes wrong, it's going to be an expensive problem to fix.
Yeah.
Right. That was one of the things
versions are rock solid. The Rex versions are a lot more functional, but those are the ones that have had issues with the range extender. So I'd probably tell you not to get there's one.
There,
wow.
There.
With range extender. See, I wouldn't buy that. I wouldn't buy a 14 with the range extender.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. This is it's under 10. It's under 10, 40,000. I know this is an old car now. It's a 10-year-old car. But these things, I think, still look so great. And
they do.
Okay, so styling, you might not. And you say you've got 2 grown-up kids. They are 10 and 15, you say in your
back
emails.
seats are fine.
And it's a rear-wheel drive as well. So if you're interested in, like, if you care about the driving dynamics much, a lot of people like rear-wheel drive more than front-wheel drive. But then again, some people prefer front-wheel drive for winter conditions. But I think just have good tires on and you're fine either way.
Actually, yeah, no, he says he wants one of the options was all-wheel drive to be preferable for a second set of wheels in winter months. I'm guessing you live somewhere. He doesn't say, does he? No,
Wisconsin.
Okay. So, okay,
a northern state. A cold,
Tom, are those tires? Are those little skinny tires a deal breaker?
Quite the opposite. I own 2 i3s. Fantastic in the snow. You want a narrow tire to pierce your way through the snow. You don't. The wider the tire, the worse it performs in the snow. The narrow tires, like tiny little wagon wheels, Martin, do great in the snow because it cuts right through the snow. You put a set of snow tires on an i3, you can go anywhere with it. I drove mine through like a foot of snow here. I drove i3s through 6 winters here in New Jersey and never had a problem. Just you put the right tires on them, get dedicated snow tires, throw them on like in December through March, and you're good to go. There's a 17 here that has the 94 amp hour battery, the 33 kilowatt hour battery. That's when they switched over to the larger battery.
Okay.
That might be the one right there. It's 12 grand. It's right around what you're looking for. And that will give you, I mean, in the winter, you'll have at least 75 miles or 80 miles of range with that. So that's,
I'm liking this.
That might be the play there. How about this one? I know these are hard to find, but when you do, I see them for decent prices. Mercedes B-Class.
Oh,
that's true.
Yeah.
True.
That might be the right. That might be a choice for him also. See if there's any of those online for sale.
Yes,
I used to see them for right around 12,000, and I love the B-Class.
Okay, yeah. You've driven one?
Oh, plenty of times. I almost bought one. When it first came out, I was trying to buy one. I went to a whole bunch of Mercedes dealerships around here. None of them had them. None of them would order it. It was just like, back when Mercedes wanted no part of this, and I wanted to buy a B-Class.
Okay, well, I found a couple, like literally a couple.
Yeah,
there's
right
one
around that 12. That's exactly where I see him at.
That's the one right there. This one is like a bit more, but a lot newer, actually.
That was, a nice Mercedes, back 7-8 years ago. It's a good, it's a solid choice if you can pick one up. I quite honestly, I'm gonna recommend that or the i3. Those are my 2 choices for you.
I think that age of vehicle. Look at warranty costs as well, because it was a rare one. That Mercedes was a rare one, and it could just be that the dealer looks at you and be like, "It's going to be really expensive." I don't know where to start with this. So look at warranties on that. Taking out a third party policy. I don't want the price. I don't have one. I've never looked personally, because it's going to be a rare car. Same as the Soul, going to be a rare car. When you go back to your dealer, they're going to scratch their heads.
I feel like the BMW i3 is a safer bet just because there's more of them out there. So like going to be used parts kind of situation. If you need something, you can find it on a part on eBay.
I think on
Mercedes has to fix them. There's laws. Like I think it's 15 years or something.
Oh, is it that one?
It's federal laws that if they have to fix it. They can't retire the parts. They can't say, "Oh, we don't make that anymore. Sorry, we can't get a part." So, that's not a problem. And now that Mercedes, I think it would have been harder to service it when these actually came out because the dealers weren't spooling up for electric vehicles, but now they are. Now, all the Mercedes dealerships, all the technicians have been trained. They have special tools to remove the battery packs. Yes, this is an older one that uses different tech, but they can fix them. I'm not sweating that issue.
Okay.
Brilliant.
I wonder if they still have like spare battery packs from Tesla, something laying around then to replace.
Well, they'd have to get them, Dom, or you could make them pay your money back and take the car back.
Okay.
That's a federal law.
Right.
Wow. So I think we'll rule out all-wheel drive, DC fast charging. You said it was optional, and things like heated steering wheel seats and vampire drain. Yeah, you can tick all of those boxes. You won't get all-wheel drive, but apart from that, you get some nice cars.
Yeah. Does BMW i3 have Android Auto or CarPlay?
The early ones certainly didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
I forget now, Dom. I know the early ones didn't. The later ones may have, but I don't think so.
Thank you very much for joining us, and tune in next week. We'll try to have another episode for you to come up with. And if you have your own battery bargain that you're looking for, send us a line at batteriesincludedpodcast.com. There's the email. Thank you. And
be as descriptive as you can so we can help you.
Yeah, I think the price is the big one because Liz with the first one is like, what was your Model Y? That was your top ceiling, but with the pricing.
Let us know if you're willing to buy used. Sorry, Mark.
Yes. Yeah. And also whether you want to buy the car or whether you're looking to do payments, if it's a new car, there's some stellar lease deals around at the minute. But I know a lot of people, I don't want to turn into Dave Ramsey, but will be like, I don't want to do finance for whatever reason. So, but as much details you can give us, then that'd be really useful.
All right. Well, thanks you once again for joining us, and we'll see you all again next time. Ciao.